Alright guys, thanks and welcome back to Legacy K. I've got Andrew on the left here playing Death and Taxes versus our favorite lone player, Inyuk, on the right. And we've been away from a little while, and I just want to get back into these games, but I'm a month late, so I apologize for that. I'm also, just so you guys know, I am combing through the videos that I do have, and games that don't seem very interesting at all, I'm skipping through them a little bit, and we'll weed through those, and we'll just go ahead and cast the best games that I come up with. So Green Sun's on 0 on turn 1 for the lone player equals Dryad Arbor Go, ramping him very cleanly into turn 2 3-drop, notably Knight of the Reliquary or like a Liliana of the Veil. Andrew will take his first turn already 2 permanents behind on board. So planes go. All right, so no Ether Vial and no Mom, and now I think Inyuk is just going to untap, slam a land, and probably play Liliana of the Veil, and start ticking it up. Something that Andrew might have a little trouble dealing with. I think he does have a main deck Council's Judgment. Is that possible? Probably not. Never mind. I'm probably not correct on that. How does Liliana get beat in this matchup? I don't think he likes to see that. So depending on the texture of his hand here, Andrew is probably going to have to discard either a glutted 2 or 3-drop, whatever he has too much of. And then he's going to have to power through this Liliana, making it sacrifice, I guess. And Inyuk here is probably going to predictably throw away Life from the Loam. Oof. That's brutal. So Andrew has enough lands and enough creatures to work through here. I wouldn't be very surprised to see him like throw down Stoneforge Mystic, something that he knows is going to make like a something that he knows is going to get sacked here, but also just grab something on its way out. If this Life from the Loam kind of like grind fest continues and it seems like Inyuk doesn't have a creature to play, then maybe we could just grab like a really good piece of equipment against a bug deck, either Batterskull or a sword, and then, or not a bug deck, but a black-green deck, and then accept that our creature is going to go down, but just start putting equipment onto the table and kind of just slowly work our way through Liliana. So Batterskull goes to the hand, and Inyuk chooses to Loam. He misses a 3rd land in the graveyard for his Life from the Loam, but those are pretty good targets regardless, despite there being only 2 of them. And I'm unable to see what's in his hand, but if he doesn't have a threat on board, he's just going to go grab 2 more lands. And I'd guess his colored mana seems okay. I think we could just put Dark Depths on the table and just pass the turn. I don't know. Oh wait, no, we didn't activate Liliana. So here's the Windswept Heath again, representing 2 colored sources, which we'll get rid of immediately. And his mana advantage is just going to continue because he's not going to miss a beat for the rest of this game. Lily ticks up. Interesting sequencing there. I'm not sure why he came up with 2 mana first. Discards a Chrome Mox, that's good. Alright, and he chooses... So the tick up was pretty obvious because he had removal in hand for the Stoneforge. So the Batterskull is currently stranded. The Wasteland in Andrew's hand seems pretty worthless and is likely just his 4th mana source. This Liliana seems very difficult to deal with when it's hit the board, when Andrew doesn't have anything like going on. This doesn't seem particularly strong to me. This means that we slam another creature next turn, and then we've slowly whittled our way through the Liliana if he chooses to tick it down twice. I believe the only hit there was a Plains. Though notably, Inhyuk's list plays Volrath's Stronghold, so every time he mills a Dark Confidant like that, of which there have been 2, that represents a way to get a creature back later. Andrew's in a tough spot here. Fortunately, he's not actually under very much pressure. The Liliana has been really the only good thing that's been played. Okay. And the Dryad Arbor draws first blood. This should be Plains Windswept Heath. Okay. So it's slowing down a little bit here. If he chooses to dredge next turn, he may get a better hit. With a Flicker Wisp already down, drawing or getting hold of the Thespian stage somehow is probably his best bet. Death and Taxes historically has a number of great ways to deal with Marit Lage. Oh wait, he's got a Karakas in hand. Okay. So the Dark Depths doesn't mean anything. I think that Andrew actually didn't want to play that earlier. He was continuing to draw Plains, and so he was sandbagging the Karakas because he knows that the card is very important in this matchup. But that is impossible to Abrupt Decay, and he's got a Batterskull in his hand. And he's got protection from a Marit Lage. I think that was actually the perfect card. Okay, so good hits off of the Life from the Loam. That was Bojuka Bog and 2 fetches, I believe. But wow, the Mirran Crusader, I realize now that if you get the Liliana down to 1 and then slam it, that was a great line. He's going to be able to get through any creatures that Inhyuk could possibly play to manually attack the Liliana down. And if he doesn't get wasted this turn, then he can play his own Wasteland and drop a Batterskull hardcast next turn. We're discarding now. Oh, if he's down to 2 cards, then he actually has to discard Wasteland. Or is that 3? All right, and that's reasonable. He wants the land to be able to cast the Batterskull, and he wants the Batterskull because that's going to be GG with the Mirran Crusader. So, despite kind of wanting to swords the Deathrite Shaman, you just got to discard it. There's another Karakas. Yeah, you got to get rid of the Liliana. So, here comes a Batterskull, and one more Karakas left in hand just to sandbag. just as additional pressure. I mean, sorry, as additional insurance against Merit Lage, and I think we're just about done here. It's hard for me to imagine a series of draws that Inhyuk could get. But he's going to play on. We've got to find maybe main deck Toxic Deluge. That's something that's definitely in his wheelhouse, something that I've seen him play before. Alright, so Deathrite will do his mediocre job, and Dark Depths will start unthawing. He's going to continue loaming. There's a Volrath Stronghold. I don't think that that's any help. At least he can get 3 cards for his Life from the Loam, but I don't see him beating the board. Just another land in hand, it looks like. Oh, is that Plains from before? This is something that I find interesting. Whenever I play against the Loam deck, it seems like when they get a Life from the Loam engine going, and they're getting so many cards, and they always make a land drop, and they've always got cards in hand. It seems like they're getting so much value, but you can really see here he's just spinning his tires. There's nothing of value in his hand. Yeah. Screw the germ. So what is that? The double strike with the equip. Yup. That is a big boy. He's going to unthaw Merit Lage. He's probably going to gain 2 life. Get rid of the Stoneforge there. And get to praying. Nothing in his deck can block that card. Yeah, I feel like the fact that he even bothered to live to that draw step indicates that he does have an out. It was definitely a main deck sweeper, and knowing him, it is Toxic Deluge, which is going to be very pricey, but he still could have done it. And he would actually have an impressive amount of lands left over and the Volrath Stronghold to get back. So provided he had drawn what he needed, he could have gotten there. Looks like Inhyuk will lead on a turn 1 Green Sun Zenith for 0 again. Exactly where he wants to be. So I think he has to grab Bayou or Savannah and a Dryad Arbor here. Because with the Marsh Flats, it's a little awkward. He can't get a basic. And tap that Bayou, buddy. And he, again, has a turn 2 Liliana. Looks like it's ready to go. Oh, he doesn't have another colored source. I think he would have gone for it. That is quite good. So Bob is online next turn. Either Viola takes up to 1. Looks like Andrew has his choice between Stoneforge and Thalia this turn. But he does not want Dark Confidant to start looking at too many cards, so he throws the sword out main phase. And Eternal Witness grabs a fetch. this was very necessary for him because he needs the black mana for next turn. But now a Mom is online. And if this is most likely a Stoneforge Mystic flashing in out of nowhere, plus a main phase Thalia, then the Liliana isn't actually even going to do that much. Andrew passes the turn with the ability to throw in a Stoneforge end of turn. And then either a Sword or a Jite will take care of anything that Inhyuk tries to put on the board. So he's debating just how good Liliana is here. Swords to Plowshare is also doing a very good job against Volrath's Stronghold. Sword's just fantastic. It beats the crap out of all sorts of ways to recur your threats, including my favorites like Liliana the Last Hope and Unearth. Alright, so Knight is definitely a stronger play than the Liliana. And this gives them the ability to start trying to fight back, although the Knight is only a 3/3. Make a Stoneforge. And he asked if it was getting plowed here, not remembering that the Thalia makes that impossible, even if he had it. Not saying that he doesn't, but... So I see that there is a Council's Judgment and at least one Rest in Peace and a Needle that have come in from the sideboard for Andrew. I like all of those choices. I don't know what gets shaved here. And I think he's pulled a sort of Fire and Ice to the forefront. Oh, wait, Fire and Ice? That doesn't sound right. Should be, or is that Light and Shadow? It's a wonder I don't get paid for this, right? Because I can't really even identify swords. I would also bet $5 that he's talking about... Wait, I didn't side out Jite in this matchup, did I? Probably didn't, dude. Or at least I would advise against it. So this board state actually, it looks like it's getting pretty out of control. Mom has everything covered. There's still a Flicker Wisp in hand. That sword is extremely threatening. Though none of his creatures can actually get in on the ground at this point. So I think he needs the Flicker Wisp. And, okay, so Andrew just gets greedy here. The greed looks pretty good on him, though. I could have sworn that the line was sort of just pass, make a Flicker Wisp, make a sword, untap, equip it, and then go to town. I also believe that my line was a little safer against a untapped Toxic Deluge. This one makes his board state look much more impressive, though. A second knight. Oh, the beatings are real. This just looks gross. How can one honest Abrupt Decay player beat this? I'm curious to see how he decides to pony up, though. I can certainly see an argument for a really, really aggressive attack backed up by the mom. Sword here on Thalia, or really Revoker either, but probably on Thalia. Sword on Thalia makes her big enough with First Strike to take care of one knight straight up. Although maybe he could... Maybe the knight can tap. This makes me feel like the Thalia is just going to get mazed. And now you're going to have two tapped creatures. Okay. I'm not crazy, right? The earlier Knight of the Reliquary was ready to use. Does he possibly have a maze in his hand? Ooh. Never mind, I apologize. Phyrexian Revoker is definitely on Knight of the Reliquary, and his best draw was probably Karakas, which he found. He bounces her now. That'll make his spells cost a little less during his main phase if he needs to. He could even activate Volrath's Stronghold, maybe. No, he'll take the opportunity to make a Liliana. I think... Yeah, I think Andrew is saying, we're in the end step, by the way, when I go ahead and flick. No, he stopped him. He said, okay, before your end step. Because he wants to get his recruiter back in time. With the mom still active, and with no board wipe here, I think that any line that Andrew chose here is going to go pretty well for him. And here's the scary, scary Crusader again. I have to imagine he's going to put on a sword. Or is it just a flyer now this turn? Put it on the Flicker Wisp. Go straight for him. Doesn't care about the Lily. No, he does care about the... Oh, he redirects some damage. He kills the Lily, he does some damage, he draws a card, he does it all. And he has a Karakas, which he is unwilling to play because it doesn't matter anymore. Or... I don't see why we played that. I mean, Inhyuk has had a Wasteland up this entire time. But he's just he wants to force the issue because he wants to make a recruiter chain. He's also got the Vial on 3, so he's gonna grab another Flicker Wisp and then just have an endless stream of Flicker Wisps to bounce recruiters or themselves or not themselves, right? No, another target permanent. Yeah, you can Flicker Wisp a Flicker Wisp. What was I thinking about? I was thinking about the Restoration Angel. I see. Why didn't he draw that card? It could have been Toxic Deluge. Anyway, good going, Andrew. Well played.